it's not often, Andrew, that I get somebody with your experience both in at the executive level in big companies, small companies, but also, teaching and mentoring and developing and observing executive teams across, the corporate America landscape. So I want to talk now, assuming that we've got people listening and watching this that are in executive roles and want to get better, or people that are not in executive roles, but they see the big guys and big gals up in the C-suite and they aspire to that one day. So you have worked with, observed, trained so many executives. It's a two-sided coin of a question. Are there any traits, habits, whatever, that you think you seem to have found that most of the very best leaders seem to have in common? And then I'm going to follow that up with, I'll just ask it here. Then I'm going to say, all right, you just listed all your observations of the very best. Are there also any traits and habits and lack of skills that ineffective, bad, maybe even toxic leaders also share? So let's start with the effective ones first.
Sure. I'll try not to take too long because everyone's eager to get to the toxic stuff. That seems to be the word of the year, right now. I would say if we, I like your breakdown of traits, habits, and skills. On the traits front, I have to start with integrity. It's what we started, on July 2nd of 1996 when I showed up at the Naval Academy as a civilian and, within the hours was in the military on induction day. It started with integrity from day one. And that's just table stakes. And we're all human. We all make mistakes, but you have to have that some critical mass of integrity and take it seriously. And then a lot flows from that, just like the mission focus does. Great leaders and people who are successful. And by the way, those things aren't the same thing. You can be a great leader and also not successful in the private sector. And so, maybe we'll get to some of those things in terms of advancement, promotion, that kind of stuff. But the people who are great leaders, they care and they show it. And I don't mean just about, business metrics. They care about the people under them. We learned very early on as officer candidates to really take an interest in your people, know about them, ask them how they're doing, and actually want an answer, know what their family situation is like, or lack thereof, and what they do. And it doesn't mean you need to be their friend. In a lot of circumstances, maybe you shouldn't be their friend. But that shows you actually care. And by the way, I'm not advocating people just do this to be manipulative. Like, you actually have to care. The great leaders also create a flywheel. Jeff Bezos talks about flywheels all the time. This, self-sustaining and perpetuating and accelerating thing that produces leaders. You want to create a system of leaders that then produces more leaders. That's the ideal state. They are professional and they don't get rattled very, very often. One thing that I've grown in is to, not that I wasn't calm under pressure, but because I like to think I was exceedingly calm under pressure, but there's a little element of seeking the highs or trying to crush the lows that come in business or life or the military. And one thing that we used to talk about a lot in the SEAL teams was tactical patience and the ability to just see a data point for what it is in a moment of time and maybe take a minute before you respond. I'll wrap it up just in terms of habits. I think, and this took me a long time to realize, Mike, I'm guessing you probably spotted it sooner, but in the military, while I don't want people to stereotype the military, there's so much initiative in the military. There's so many things where you're not taking orders, but there is a little bit of a battle rhythm. I mean, I barely ever had to use a calendar, almost never. And and I was an officer, right? My guys, like my chiefs, they used calendars. My guys, they probably never looked at a calendar, like, except for their home calendar, like the entire year. And so what I'm getting at is, I underestimated the kind of level of personal organization that great leaders have. And it's kind of this quiet skill of that human operating system in terms of being organized, blocking out time for reflection, blocking out time to plan their week, and, all the little things that are this kind of calm organization that then sets them up for success, make sure they're working on their priorities, and then sets up their time and their team in the right ways.
Yeah, I love that. Any last thoughts on, or any thoughts on the ineffective, least effective? You want to put a bow on that?
The ineffective folks, it's generally not a skills issue, as I alluded to in one of my previous responses. We can fix things like having better one-on-ones. We can fix things like running better meetings, all that sort of stuff, communication skills. But the root cause a lot of times is they are often fearful and self-interested to the detriment of their team. And so, micromanagement, it comes from fear and from a lack of trust. That being one of the things that is the most toxic of all. When someone does something where they're putting customers second or employees second, or ethical transgressions, those things come from our lesser selves. And so I hate to be overly simplistic, but over the last several years thinking about this and witnessing both the great things and opportunity areas since the military, I really have boiled it down to that fear and self-interest drives so much of what is wrong with leadership in the private sector. Because if someone is not scared and they are willing to be selfless, because great leaders are selfless, and they have that mission focus, most of the time they will fix these things themselves.